another fantastic book. I debate, which is my favorite. This is another one that I'd put in that same category. The book Good to Great by Jim Collins, an absolute favorite of mine. In this book, Good to Great, Jim Collins did some analytical studies of businesses that made the progression from good to great. And he measured them by very specific analytical performance criteria. And he would identify a company that made the transition from good to great with a company in the same industry that didn't make the transition from good to great. And he explained the differences between the two. So, for example, one of them was a bank, and he described the bank that made the transition from good to great. Then he chose another bank that didn't and contrasted the differences. Well, when Paul and I bought Life Smiles in May of 07, we wanted to have a guide. And I had recently read the book Good to Great, and I was so impacted by it. I said, Paul, I actually think that this book could be our blueprint in our first year of ownership. If we simply followed the concepts, because we wanted to take what we thought was a good practice, when we bought it, it needed a lot of work. It was a total fixer-upper, but we thought we had good bones. And we wanted to take the practice from a good situation to great. And we read that book together, he and I, and we applied those concepts in our first year, like a blueprint, like an action step blueprint. I've done this with book club with my clients, and it has made a massive difference in their life. The book Good to Great by Jim Collins. This book is available on Audible if you prefer to listen. Jim Collins actually reads the Audible version or narrates it. So I always like it when the author narrates their own book because they emphasize the things they want to emphasize. So if you're more of a listener than a reader, then here's one that you can, the format can suit your preferred format by listening to it through Audible. Good to Great.
On the book, Good to Great, Gary, I think the first two authors, they are no longer with us. They both passed, correct? Dale Carnegie quite a few years ago or decades ago, and then not too long ago.
Stephen Covey passed in the early 20-teens. I believe it was 2013 that Stephen Covey passed, and we lost a tremendous human being for sure.
Right. Now, Jim Collins is still alive, and I remember running across, he has written a bunch of other books too. Built to Last is another book I liked. And I remember running across a website where he has these 1 minute, 2 minute videos where he explains some of those concepts. So if anybody wants snapshot versions of what he's teaching, maybe you could just Google and look for some of those videos.
Yeah, I think of all these authors as mentors in my life.
Right.
Aaron, I had the privilege of meeting Stephen Covey, actually physically meeting him. But I've never met Jim Collins, but I think of him as a mentor because in his writing, in his videos, in his newsletter, in all the different formats that he makes his content available, he is mentoring me, and he can be that mentor for you as well.